One area that is absolutely booming. In fact, I was alerted to the fact of how booming it was. I mean, I travel there all the time on work and business and recreation, and it's my major retail destination. I have to see Queenstown, 5 mile out at Frankton there. But I was stunned to learn that estimates due out from Stats New Zealand tomorrow are expected to show that Queenstown's population has exceeded 30,000 people. And this will put Queenstown in a group of large urban centres like Gisborne, Wanganui, Upper Hutt, Nelson and Invercargill, that are commonly referred to as cities. And I have to say, I've lived in Central Otago for the last, 8 years? Man, the growth in that golden triangle of Cromwell, Queenstown and Wanaka, but particularly in Queenstown, is extraordinary. Never seen it in my lifetime. Somebody who's in the midst of all that, obviously, and has to deal with it, but must be sort of secretly proud that he's in actual fact mayor of the fastest growing region in New Zealand, and likely to continue to so, is the mayor of Queenstown Glyn Lewers, and he joins us now. Glyn, lovely to have you on the show. You must be a bit secretly proud, eh? Yeah, of this?
I think privileged is probably a better word. Look, you don't want to brag, but yeah, privileged, I think, is given the economic things we face across the country. I'm pretty privileged to be in a district that's actually growing and has some economic vitality.
And you must know just about every unemployed person, I'm thinking to myself, Glyn, in Queenstown, by their first name. I mean, that would be how few there were.
Yeah, it's probably my son at the moment, trying to get him out an after-school job, and he's still at school. So, yeah, look, everyone's pretty much employed here. I think the official stats is like 1, or I think it might be approaching 2%, which is effectively full employment. But there's those that don't want to work. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and listen. Run me past this, please, and I try and be as dispassionate as you can. But why is Queenstown on the verge of city status? What? I mean, I understand that it's got lovely mountains and it's got a nice lake. But what in particular is it about Queenstown that has drawn so many people to some of the most expensive real estate, if not the most expensive real estate in the country, to your particular city to live?
Yeah, so you touched on the environment. Obviously, that lifestyle is a big driver for people coming here, but it's also because we've got a visitor economy, and the visitor economy has actually created services to a community that people enjoy. Where else can you live and have this is Queenstown, 3 international ski fields within 30 minutes? We've got more medical practitioners, as in GPs here, than a town of our size. And as you say, the retail experience, both in town and out at Frankton, is a lot more diverse and offers a lot more than a similar town of our size. You won't walk down Main Street, Levin, and see Burberry and Cartier and Tag Heuer, will you?
The other thing, though, that strikes me as amazing is that the wages aren't all that brilliant in Queenstown, as you know, which is why, in many ways, the hospitality industry is so dependent upon basically visitors passing through to staff them. Yeah, and you've got some of the most, as I said, expensive real estate. I mean, even to live in your, quite intensive housing divisions like Hayes Estate and what's the other one, Shotover, and the new ones, you're looking at houses 250 square, well over $1 million, $1.5 million each for a basic 3-bedroom house. How do people afford to live there? There's a good question.
Yeah, so that is they both work. or there's more people than two. There's more than two people working in a household. Yeah, living in a house that are working. And then you got either the attached or detached flat through short-term lets, so that's Airbnb and Book a Batch. Look, it is tough. I think the last figures I saw was our median, so our middle figure for houses was 1.4 million. Our average was 1.8. I think it was approaching 1.9. Arrowtown's 2.4. So, look, there are some pretty eye-watering house value stats out there, and it just seems the more houses we provide, they seem to be taken up and snapped up. There's this insatiable demand. Yeah.
Listen, the other thing, just quickly about Queenstown, though, and I'm thinking in particular of the city thing. The stats department are talking about 30,000. You can call yourself a city. It's not just, as to explain to the rest of New Zealand, your council isn't just Queenstown, though. It is, as you've mentioned, Arrowtown, which is, well, sort of just down the road. And then obviously you're a long way, really, in terms of distance from Wanaka, which is part of the Queenstown Lakes District Council as well. And there's this tension, it seems to me, all from living in Cromwell, that between Queenstown and Wanaka all the time, amenities and things like that. How do you balance that as mayor?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, and I think obviously it's historical, and it doesn't help that we've got this massive mountain range in between, and it's similar to what you probably experienced between Cromwell and Alex.
Yeah, except they're only 30 kilometres away and on a straight road.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So that tyranny of distance and topography adds a little bit of sauce, a bit of vinegar, I suppose, to the back and forth. And there's that little brother, big brother thing as well. And even saying that might raise a few eyebrows on the other side of the Crown Range. Look, I think what it is they just want to you just got to make sure that your spending is proportionate to the ratepayer proportion, the population base, and the asset value. If that can be explained, things in the level of service for council services is pretty much the same. That sort of, and you can communicate that. That's the tough part, actually communicating that. Then there's a little bit of easing of tension. Look, I walk the streets of Wanaka most weeks and get hit up occasionally about discrepancies between both sides of the range, but once they've got a few things off their chest and we explain it to them, they usually come around a little, but it does take some time, and it just means continual dialogue. And look, there's some that won't change their view. They won't change their view,
but because you're such a unique place, Queenstown, is it possibly time for you just to draw a line around Queenstown itself and say, right, this is the international tourist centre for New Zealand. It is particularly a gateway for trans-Tasman tourists into New Zealand because you can get the direct flights. Is it time and you've got your own particular infrastructure problems because in summer you get to about 120, 130,000 people in Queenstown, is that right, on any ordinary day?
On peak summer day, I think the district got up to 119 over the last summer. But,
that's ridiculous.
In 20 years I could have the current population of Palmerston North, so 70,000 people, just turning up to Queenstown, just the town, the CBD, on any given day. That's what our projections are telling us. So, we've got some interesting challenges in Queenstown, but to draw a line and say Queenstown's on their own, I'd probably push back on that because, as you're well aware and in your opening introduction, Queenstown, Wanaka and Cromwell are so extremely linked transport-wise and employment-wise. We have a lot of people travelling between those three chasing our work, and what happens in Queenstown certainly affects Wanaka and Cromwell, and what happens in Wanaka and Cromwell certainly affects Queenstown.